Hi everyone, it's Liam here from Rating the Races. So, as I mentioned before, we are back in the UK, so we are back doing these handicap analysis videos where I highlight horses that have generally dropped in the handicap. Occasionally there's a couple that go up in the handicap that I think can win subsequent races, and you'll often find if you're new to these videos, if it's not next time out, it doesn't take them long before they find a winning opportunity, and sometimes at decent prices. So we'll start off talking about the unlucky horse of the weekend, and that's JPR1, who went up £11 despite falling. He's up 11 to 145, which is really unfortunate for Connections. I mean, they probably thought they probably would have thought, we could get a couple of wins in those £11, and actually they're going to get no wins, no prize money. They've gone up £11, and now he's probably got to run in graded races, which is very unfortunate for Connections. So let's actually talk about some that we are interested in, and we will start off with the 2 mile handicap, the Mucking Brilliant Paddy Power Handicap Chase, where Calico has gone up £4. Now, I initially looked at that and thought, oh, that's a bit steep, because I was kind of hoping that Connections would kind of work back now from the Grand Annual, and I keep saying kind of. We'll try and stop that, to work back from the Grand Annual, and I think this is something that Dan Skelton will probably look at with Calico. And where do you go with him? Well, he was unlucky, I thought. Well, not unlucky, but he probably just made his move a little bit too soon against Triple Trade, who probably outstayed him. Now, with that in mind, if Harry can be a bit more patient on him next time, I think he could certainly win off his 143 mark. Let me just mute that so that doesn't make any noise. I think he could win off his 143 mark if he doesn't bump into a very progressive horse like Triple Trade probably showed he was. Where do you go with him? Well, I think it's quite obvious what you do with Calico. You return to Cheltenham next month, Saturday the 16th of December, for the quintessentially handicapped steeplechase over 2 mile for 4-year-olds. Now, this would kind of then determine what plan you do with the horse after that. Do you target him at more of them? If you go and win the race, you probably then keep looking at the handicaps. If you don't go and win the race, I'd probably then be keen to step him up to the Grade 1. The Grade 1, because he's unlikely to win a Grade 1. He'll probably bump into something like Editor G, Edward Stone, John Bon, and Nogamine, something like that. El Fabiolo, if they decide to send him over. And they won't win. And the handicap mark may be adjusted based on that. Now, if he could turn up to Cheltenham off 143, at Cheltenham Festival off 143, I'd be very, very keen on him, to be honest. I think he will go very close, Calico. Back at the festival, or at the festival for his first time. I mean, some of his form, even his effort when trying to beat John Bon, he ran well for a long way against John Bon. He then won a race at Doncaster before, again, stepping back up to Grade 1 company and showing that he's not Grade 1 company. And I think Dan's doing that. Yeah, he got beat by John Bon again, and he fell when I think he was trying to kick for home at Aintree and fell, 2 out or 3 out. I think Dan knows that he's quite a well-handicapped horse, and although he's gone up 4, I still think they'll go, we could win a big handicap with him, possibly the Grand Annual. So I'm putting him down as a horse to look out for. If he runs at Cheltenham in a month's time, he would be a bet. And then I probably wouldn't back him again until the Grand Annual if that's where he turned up. Because if he wins at Cheltenham in a month, he might be too high in the handicap and he'll need a couple of races to come down. Even if he goes and wins his next race, we won't have really missed him. If he doesn't win at Cheltenham next month, I think they then might go, well, we can try and now get 1 more or 2 more runs into him before returning for the festival, which is now the aim. So he's the first one that I'm interested in from the new handicap marks. The next 2 both came from the same race. They both came from this novice chase listed race at Cheltenham, and both of them were quite comfortably beaten. The first one, you're all going to hate me, Mr. Coffee. I think somebody highlighted that he'd run something like 28 miles over fences, and hasn't won. But he's run some really good races in defeat. I mean, his defeat when second behind Gutapan Cologne at Uttoxeter is actually proven quite a good bit of form. Gutapan Cologne is now £10 higher and recently finished 3rd at Cheltenham. probably going to go up another couple of pounds. So he could be like £12. Mr. Coffee is back down to that 140 mark. You look at his run at Aintree in the Grand National of 145, a £5 higher mark. It was perfectly satisfactory. He actually probably went too soon. You can see he reduced by 95% during the run because turning for home, they'd kind of kicked clear, and Nicky de Boinville, in my opinion, got that wrong. They went too early, a bit like Black Lion did a few years before that. Now, Mr. Coffee is very lightly raced. He's only an 8-year-old turning 9. I think there is a big handicap in him when they get the right trip and ride. And, surely this is where he's going to be running next. The Beecher Chase. It's over those national fences. It's a bit better trip. He did try and run in the, this one. Nope, not this one. Here, they ran him over 2 mile 5 before, over the national fences. Was that the Sefton or the Topham? It was the... waiting for it to load. It was the Topham. He found that, everything happening far too fast for him. He needs a trip. 3 mile 2 will be fine. And he needs, I think the national fences will be fine. And he needs a handicap. And to be honest, I was quite surprised that they were prepared to drift him out to 20-1 for the Beecher Chase. I'm pretty sure that's where he's going to go. Beecher Chase, Grand National, they would be your next 2 runs for Mr. Coffee now. And I think actually Mr. Coffee is worth a bet in this race at 20-1. I'm going to have a bet on him at 20-1 for the Beecher Chase, with getting back into the Grand National in mind. Off 140, now with that new rule of, I think it's only 36 get in, he wouldn't be guaranteed off 140. I think off 144, 145, he would be guaranteed and still be able to run a nice race. As I said, 145 last year, if he'd been given a better ride, I think he would have gone very close. Now he's down to 140. You can go and win the Beecher Chase, go up £5, return to Aintree for the Grand National of 145 and still run another big race. Going back to this race at Cheltenham, the 3 mile race, which, as I said, didn't suit Coffee because it wasn't handicap and it wasn't far enough. The horse that possibly bounced was Filipe. Now, Filipe has some good form to his name, including finishing 5th in an Albert Bartlett, behind Vanillier, Oscar Elite, Statler, some good horses there, in front of the likes of 300 through 5 and Barbados Bucks. And had also finished 2nd in a Pertemps final, so actually has some... I was going to say Royal Ascot. Haven't switched over to the National Hunt sphere just 100%. Actually finished 2nd at the Cheltenham Festival. Now, that could be where they end up with him again. They could return for that 3 mile handicap, the Ultima, on day 1. But they'll probably want to, get him a bit of fitness and a bit more confidence after pulling up in a listed race. Now, where do you go with him? I'd run him at Haydock in this Tommy Whittle over 3 mile 1. So it's just over a month away. It's 1 month and 2 days away. So it gives him enough time to get over his run. Whereas having not run since, what was it? He didn't run for 588 days and then he returned just 23 days later. He might have bounced. And with that in mind, I'm prepared to give him a chance. And he's actually dropped £3 for that run to 135. Now, I think that's a mark that he can certainly win off. And it's a mark that in the Tommy Whittle, off 135, you can see he wouldn't be right at the top of the weight. It would be at least £10 off top weight, or likely to be £10 off top weight. I think he would go well. And he does also have some form at Haydock. He's only had the 1 run. It was winning a Grade 2, beating... Okay, granted he probably didn't beat other subsequent decent animals, but he did win a Grade 2 at Haydock over 3 mile, proving that he can handle the ground. So yeah, the Tommy Whittle is where I hope to see him next, and then potentially back for the old teamer at the Cheltenham Festival. I think when he finished 2nd in the Pertemps final, he was very unlucky. He ran a really good race behind Third Wind, who had previously finished 3rd in the year before. Mill Green had finished 3rd and finished 3rd again. Or finished 3rd here, he went on to finish 3rd again. It was a race that worked out well anyway, and Filipe ran a really good race that day. He only went off 11-2 for a Pertemps final. Yeah, I think there's still more to come with him, and I'm hoping that he's bounced and he can return to form in the Tommy Whittle. We then move on to the Paddy Power Gold Cup, the 2.5 mile handicap chase, and there are 3 from this that I'm interested in going forward. So Stage Star went up £11 to 166 for that. He's obviously going to be back into graded races. And to be honest, he probably deserved £11. Not only did he win and run the others into submission, he made that terrible mistake at the last and still picked up strongly after it. £11 is probably fair. So then you want to look at those in behind. And there's a couple that caught my eye with their new marks. The first one is Fugitive. Now, Fugitive had the tongue tie put on. Or was it the cheek pieces? Cheek pieces put on. To be honest, I think he ran too keen. If you watch his run, I'm sure Gavin Sheehan would have wanted to be waiting behind the likes of Stage Star and the Real Whacker, who were trying to make the running. And he kept pulling himself through the gap to join them at the front. And I don't think that's where he wanted to be. It could have been that he was just a bit fresh. It was his first run for 218 days. And with that run under his belt, I think he'll be able to settle next time. Down £2 to 151. I think that's a good, a nice drop, considering I think this was a really strong Paddy Power. And I think we're seeing back for the Virgin Bet December Gold Cup next month, Saturday the 16th of December. And yeah, I kind of think he wants to be aimed at all of those races now. Keep running in the 2.5 mile races at Cheltenham and hope that one drops your way. If it doesn't, and you run 4th or 5th, you'll get dropped a couple of pound, and eventually you'll be really well handicapped. I think he's nicely handicapped anyway. I just felt he was a bit keen and kept pulling his way when Gavin didn't really want him to go forward. If he settles next time and can make his effort a bit later, I think off 151 he could certainly run a big race in the December version of this race. The second horse that I have mentioned before that caught my eye was Torn and Frayed. Now, he dropped £2 to 133, and this was his first run for 658 days. And if you watch it, he ran a nice race in a strong Paddy Power. He was going to finish, I think, 5th or 6th when he fell at the last. Now, if he's okay, I think off 133, I think he'll be able to run a nice race next time out. And to be honest, again, I think you just return for this December Gold Cup. He's got the form at the track. He was beaten by horses, or going to be beaten by horses, that had the form at the track. He's got some decent Cheltenham form. He was second in December 2021, and he won in January 2022. But he's also got 2/3 here. Yeah, I think it's an obvious one. You return back for this December Gold Cup. Now he's had that fitness run and that run under his belt. I think now he's a player for this race. I didn't like him on Saturday because I felt he would need the run, and he probably did. He ran well for a long way before getting tired and then falling. So he's one that you also want to keep an eye out for next time at Cheltenham. The final horse from this race that caught my eye with this handicap mark, it didn't really catch my eye on the run. I thought he just ran okay. But it's Angel's Breath, who bizarrely, despite finishing 7th, so like Fugitive went down 2. I don't think these two went down at all. Angel's Breath went down 5. 5 to 139. I thought that was a real overreaction from the BHA handicappers. He only went off 15 to 2 this day in a strong Paddy Power. Went off 15 to 2 and dropped £5. I thought that was a real nice drop for Angel's Breath. Where do you go with him? I probably wouldn't go back to Cheltenham. I know he's finished 2nd, but it was only in a handicap hurdle. Probably his 2 best runs have come at Ascot. You can actually see he's 3 from 3 at Ascot. He's 3 from 3 at Ascot, including beating First Flow, Birchdale and the Mighty Don. Now, obviously, First Flow has gone on to win a Grade 1, I believe, since then, and Birchdale was, at the time, very highly rated. Angel's Breath beat them. Returned to Ascot for the Howden Handicap Steeplechase on the 23rd of December. It's a race over 2 mile 2. Same distance as when winning this novice chase, beating First Flow and Birchdale. It's for horses rated 0 to 150, so it's a good race. He's currently rated 139, so he would likely get in quite comfortably and not be out of the handicap at the bottom. And I think he would run well. You know, that's where you need to test your Ascot credentials. A horse who's 3 from 3, that's where he can bounce back to form, is winning this Howden Handicap at Ascot on the 23rd of December. I thought that was quite an obvious one, but we'll probably see Angel's Breath running at Fosterdas in a race worth half the prize money, and finish second. So, moving on, we've got 2 more, I think. Yeah, 2 more, and both of these are actually over hurdles, and both came from the same race. The first one is Cobblers Dream. Now, Cobblers Dream was having his first run for 303 days, and off the back of pulling up. So, I mentioned this about Bob Ollinger before he won at the weekend. Now, he had previously finished second in the race behind Home by the Lee. This is Bob Ollinger. Off the back of a pulled up effort. Now, when you come back off the pulled up effort, you're just kind of unsure whether their horse is all going to finish his race and he's all there, and you don't give them the hardest race at the finish. And I kind of think that's what they did with Cobbler's Dream here. Over the course and distance that he'd previously won a Lanzarote hurdle. Now, with that in mind, he's dropped £2 to 134 for finishing a decent third on his return for the season. Previously won a Lanzarote hurdle. You just go back there again. There is a 2 mile 5 handicap hurdle for horses rated 0 to 140. He's rated 134, so he would get in. You can go and win that, and then potentially return for the Lanzarote hurdle again. Or if he doesn't and he runs okay, again you could go, well, we will come back for that Lanzarote hurdle, another couple of pounds lower. But I think he could certainly run a big race on his next start. Now he's got fitness assured, and they know that he will finish his race. They go to Kempton for this Ladbrokes Handicap hurdle on Boxing Day at Kempton, King George meeting, and get back to some sort of form. I mean, I don't think he ran badly when he was second just a couple of runs before that at Uttoxeter over fences. And this race, incidentally, the handicap that he pulled up in, let's have a look at it. The Lanzarote on soft ground. It was soft ground, but I think it was heavy. I think it was so heavy, but look at this. 4 finished. Cambron was brought down. Most of the others pulled up, including Outlaw Peter, who travelled really well and then just stopped. And I think a lot of horses did that this day. They just could not get home. The ground was so tiring. So even pulling up, that's not the worst pulled up effort that you'll see. So yeah, if he returns on Boxing Day, he'll have had another month off the track after 303 days off and then had a run. He's got fitness assured. I think he would go really close in this race at Kempton. The second horse that I wanted to talk about from that race is Saar and Glory, who was also having his first run for the season, hadn't run for 178 days. And where do you go with him? Well, you go to Ascot. Here's his 2 runs at Ascot. He was third in a Skybet Supreme trial behind My Drogo and Landinaro Lad. Obviously, My Drogo at the time looked hugely progressive and was going to be a top-class Grade 1 horse. Saar and Glory finished third. Nothing wrong with that. And he's also won a London Handicap, good prize money, beating some decent horses in behind. This is where you return for this Betfair Exchange Trophy on the 23rd of December. Over 2 mile. He's dropped £2 to 135. He is really well handicapped. I think he ran in the this race here at Newbury. What's this called? The Betfair Hurdle. He was £10 higher. No, not this race. He's a Betfair Hurdle winner, isn't he? Back in 2021. Off a similar mark as what he is now. I wouldn't be targeting that. I think you target the Ascot race because I think it'll be slightly easier than Betfair Hurdle, where you're likely to get progressive horses. I don't think you will in the Betfair Exchange Trophy. And yeah, that's where I hope to see Saar and Glory next. 23rd of December. It gives him another month to get over his exertions at the weekend. Obviously, we also hope to see Tritonic in that race. I think he would go very close. But if one or the other doesn't turn up, then hopefully we can get at least one there. So yeah, he's dropped £2 to 135. So there's some handicap horses, handicap changes that I'm very interested in. Quick recap. Calico, I think we'll see him next month at Cheltenham. I do think he would go very close there. If he doesn't, they will work back from the Grand Annual. Mr. Coffee surely goes Beecher Chase. I'm having a bet on him at 20 to 1. I think he will run a big race here and then go straight to Aintree. Filipe, I think he might well have bounced after 588 days off the track. He then had a quick run afterwards and probably bounced. I would run him in the Tommy Whittle at Haydock. He's got Haydock form, having won a Grade 2 there. Fugitive dropped £2 despite being, I thought, a bit keen through the run in the Paddy Power. A good Paddy Power return for the December Gold Cup on 16th of December. Similarly, Torn Afraid was having his first run for 658 days. Should be fitter for that run. Has enough time to get over that run and his fall. Again, return for the Virgin Bet December Gold Cup. Angel's Breath dropped £5. I thought that was an over... what's the word I'm looking for? It's been, very kindly dropped £5. Handicap has got it wrong, I think. For that one, you go to Haydock for the Howden Handicap. He's 2 from 2. He's 3 from 3 at Haydock, Ascot even, isn't he? Got at Ascot, sorry. He's 3 from 3. You run him at Ascot in this Howden Handicap steeplechase over 2 mile 2. He's also won a novice chase here, beating the subsequent Grade 1 winner at First Flow over the course and distance. 2 more. Cobblers Dream probably needed the run and probably was given an easy race considering he'd pulled up last time. They wanted to make sure he got round and had a full run. Returned to Kempton for the Ladbrokes Handicap on Boxing Day. And Saar and Glory, who also has some really good form at Ascot, returned to Ascot for the Betfair Exchange Trophy. Thanks for listening, and fingers crossed there's a few there that go and win some big races in the near future.